Just as a quick disclaimer, in this video I'll only be talking about the lore of the enemies in Abiotic Factor, and barely any game mechanics or how to get to certain areas of the facility. And obviously spoiler warning, since I'll be naming every enemy and talking about them. This is IS-171, the Carbuncle. It's extremely weak, being the first enemy you encounter, and you can just go up to it and stomp on it. Making your way past the first enemy, it won't take long for you to run to your second one. This is IS-173, the Pest. It's during this encounter the game lets you know that you can make throwing nets for defense. Using the throwing nest on the Pest and the Carbuncle will capture it, making it unable to attack you, so you can run up to it and stomp on it. In the kitchen you'll encounter more pests. They jump up to try and hit you, and so far you still have no information, since the only email we could find so far was nothing but showing you a steak. Looking around you can find a kitchen knife and talk to Dr. Yeager.
Oh, you're new. Looks like that little pest damaged the power system. Can you get someone to fix it? But hurry, would you? I'm not enjoying standing around out here.
Dr. Yeager tells you to open the door, and by going around the kitchen and finding materials you can make a workbench to make a power cell and open the door. This beginning part of the game moves really fast, and by opening this door you can encounter your third enemy already. This is IS-178. It has a dog-like form and it's supposed to run at you and claw at you, but instead for some reason its AI bugged for me and it just stood there and let me kill it.
Please locate security personnel and follow evacuation procedures.
So far the game has thrown 3 enemies at us, but we still don't know where they came from and why they're here. But now that we opened the main room, the facility really opens up and we can find holograms that give us information. This is what the holograms look like, and listening to this one in the office room on the 2nd floor we can get information on the Carbuncle.
Dr. Derek Mance reporting, Research Director, Gate Cascade Research Facility. Originating in Antiverse 2, IS-171 is a stationary, sessile entity that traps its food with a retractable tentacle. The experience of being caught is rather like being attacked by an angry pizza. It presents no real threat, but leaves an enduring, not entirely unpleasant smell on anything it touches. Suggestions for possible applications include perfume, industrial scents, and olfactory-based crowd control weapons.
After listening to this recording, we now know that the Carbuncle comes from a place called Antiverse 2. Dr. Manson tells us it's completely stationary and can't do anything but pull you in, and that it's not really a threat. If you do more exploring and find the kitchen aisle, you can find another recording that gives us more information.
Dr. Derek Mance reporting, Research Director. We now believe IS-171, or the Carbuncle, as Peters was calling it, is the larval form of IS-173, and almost certainly 178. Dr. Pendleton speculates there may also be a 4th state we have not yet encountered, and I believe she may be correct. If this is correct, it is an extraordinary shift in our understanding.
This recording explains where all 3 enemies we've encountered come from, the Carbuncle being thought as the larva form of the Pest and confirmed to be the larva form of the Peccary tells us that all 3 of these originate from Antiverse 2. They could be here easily if all 3 had breached through the portal, or if one of them had gone loose and evolved into having larvae and spreading through the facility. Heading over to the data farm, we can find another audio recording about the Pest.
This is Dr. Derek Mance. One of the most interesting aspects of the 173's life cycle is how rapidly it evolves. The high-energy conditions of our universe compared to the torpid energetics of Antiverse 2 appear to accelerate their growth immensely. It's humbling, if not a little frightening, to watch life forms alter so quickly. The explosion of Antiverse flora in reactors was far from an isolated event. It goes to the very nature of life in that realm.
This is the last recording that gives us information about the 3 creatures we've encountered. So now we know that the Carbuncle, the Pest, and the Peccary seem to all be related. They all come from Antiverse 2 and evolve here way faster than there due to the high energy conditions of our universe. There is another audio recording, but I won't play it since it doesn't mention anything too important on from stating that the Peccary is more intelligent than we thought. After exploring the facility for a while, you get to encounter your 4th enemy when the power goes out. These are facility robots. You can see them before they spawn in their hibernation pods that are located around the place since they only spawn at night. They have a light in front of them that detects anything in it. It's a close range enemy and will punch you if you get too close or lunge at you if it's already attacked you, and sometimes you can see them killing other enemies too. If you want a really easy way to kill them, you can just set up a Choppinator and hook it up to a battery, and force the robot to walk into it, shredding its health and dying. If that isn't easy enough for you, you can also just put the Choppinator in front of its hibernation pod, put 2 barriers on the sides, and spawn camp it. Something interesting about these robots is that when you kill them, they drop soda, which means they restock the vending machines and are single-handedly the reason they don't run out permanently. There isn't much to talk about them lore-wise, since they are just facility robots. They obviously originate from the facility. They do drop robot CPUs though, which you will need to progress the game. Heading up to level 3, we can find our first portal. The email here calls it A2, an abbreviation of its title. Heading over to the whiteboard, you can find the full name, Antiverse 2, in the lowest quality possible. This might have just been my graphic settings, but I'm not sure. This is the place that the first 3 creatures we found originate from, and going further, we run into the 5th enemy. This is IS-184, the Exor monk. They shoot a long-range laser at you and can also teleport around you. After dealing with them, we can find another recording left by Dr. Manson.
Dr. Derek Mance reporting. Research Director, Gate Cascade Research Facility. Antiverse 2 is an enigma. A world made of worlds. Each of them different, yet seeded with similar life. We know a few certain facts. That energy moves more slowly there, making growth, evolution, and change a more gradual process. We know, too, that materials transplanted from Antiverse B to our own are energy-dense. Biochemistry occurs much more rapidly. But how did these creatures evolve? The presence of life, complex life, confounds everything we know about evolution. Was an external force involved? Only further study can tell us.
Hearing this recording brings up some new questions. If Antiverse 2 is a world made of worlds, with each being made different but with similar life, it could be possible that the creatures we've encountered don't actually originate from Antiverse 2. And with the Exor monks, one of the old recordings mentioned a 4th evolution stage of the peccary that we haven't encountered yet. It could be possible that the Exor monk is the 4th evolution they were talking about, but can't be confirmed because, like Dr. Manson said, it's a world made of worlds. There's no way to tell where exactly they 100% originate from labeling them as Antiverse 2 creatures. This is all just a thought I had in my head and not something the lore itself implies, so I could be completely wrong. If you get on the computers around the facility and read some of the emails, you can find some that speak about A2. Sorry, Lenora, yes, we think the intensity of the radiation over there is due to high entropy levels. Energy just dissipates faster. I've clarified this before. A2 is not Planet X. It's not even just a planet. I don't know why this nickname is still sticking around. The low entropy of A2 could, theoretically, encourage metamorphic life cycles. They're more energy efficient. What we now know about A2 and its creatures is that A2 is a world of worlds with high entropy levels. It was given the nickname Planet X, but that nickname wasn't accepted because it's more than just a planet. The entropy levels of A2 encourage metamorphic life cycles, being more energy efficient, and explains why anything from A2 proliferates rapidly in our dimension due to more available energy. The carbuncle, pest, and peccary are all related, with the carbuncle being the larva and growing into the pest before finally evolving into the peccary. The peccary has another stage of evolution but hasn't been confirmed to have been discovered yet. The Exor monks are a similar life form to the other creatures but can't be confirmed as the 4th stage of evolution, but is still very likely to be. There's no telling on their exact origin due to A2 being a world made up of worlds, but for now we can label them as A2 creatures. In Silo 3, by using the keypad hacker, we can find the second portal. It takes us to another place called Flat Hill. This is where my favorite enemy in the game is found. This is IS-64. They're giant lanky figures, and the game gives you a warning that not all enemies can be killed. You can hear them humming to themselves, and they're also deaf, making them rely on vision. I love this part of the game because it utilizes stealth, which we had no reason to use beforehand. Getting spotted by the composer, it'll chase after you. The easiest way to avoid these guys is by going into a building since they're too tall to get in. Even then, you have to be careful because they'll try to reach through the door to grab you. If the door is tall enough, they can go through it, which I learned in my first playthrough. If you went to the office meeting area, you got to hear a recording of the composers before we even encountered them.
Dr. Derek Mance, Cascade. The first instances of IS-064 appeared barely seconds after our first successful perforation event.
All vacant.
It appears to exude a fog or mist that has overtaken Flat Hill entirely. The surviving residents have been evacuated and a cordon established around the town, citing a chemical spill. The residents, not to mention our counterparts at the EPA, are less than impressed. But the knowledge we already gained, even in this short time, is beyond value.
This recording tells us a bit about Flat Hill and explains how the composers got there. Back inside of Flat Hill, you can find 3 holograms that give you more information. They're pretty close together, so I'm going to compile the most important parts and put them together.
Dr. Derek Mance reporting, Research Director. IS-046 seems to sing to itself, if you could call it that, emitting a series of resonant tones suggestive of communication. The cavities that create these sounds appear to be the same cavities the creature uses to ingest anyone who comes within reach. On the advice of Keystone, Gate has established a facility here in Flat Hill. We judge it unwise to advertise our activities, so for the time being our presence is, necessarily clandestine, if not a bit syrupy. The location was selected for the convergence of certain geomagnetic forces that amplify the power of our perforation equipment. We stand poised on the brink of an entirely new technology. I'm convinced of it. I'm pleased to confirm the first Flat Hill perforation was a success, although the geomagnetic convergence was stronger than we anticipated, allowing an entity to pass across IS-064, perhaps the largest we've yet logged in our immurement registry. Indeed, the events here in Flat Hill have advanced our understanding of perforation by orders of magnitude. I regret the contamination and consequent, closure of the township, but I am more confident than ever in Gates' ability to develop a functional portal network. What we learn here will alter the history of our species, and maybe...
These 3 recordings tell us that Flat Hill was a place people lived at. Gate established a facility here due to the geomagnetic forces, and the geomagnetic forces are stronger here, allowing perforation equipment to be amplified. They conducted a perforation that brought the composer here, forcing the city to be evacuated. They appeared only seconds after the perforation and exude a fog which is responsible for how the place looks now. They emit resonant tones from the cavities they use to ingest anyone getting too close. You can find an email that talks about their origin. In the email it states, "I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed. They're part of the fog phenomena, but we lost any chance to explore their origins once we installed the containment system. It sucks to hear, but this means we can't know where they came from since the containment system completely stops us from knowing that. For now, all we have is the information we've gathered, and with no way to really study where they came from, it only leaves you curious." Opening the manufacturing sector, it's another huge open area, just like the office sector. Around this area, you'll see the same enemies as before, but you can also encounter a new kind of enemy. These are the Order. I'm not going to be going into too much detail about each one since they all come from the same place and work together, but I will be talking about how they're different and their attacks. The Grunt is the basic enemy from the Order. They're equipped with pistols or submachine guns and can drop their weapons and ammo for them. They can be seen patrolling designated areas and have average human hearing. The Lab Rat is a neutral being. They have rat scanners and will usually run from you, dropping a trail of loot. If they feel threatened enough, they can swing their rat scanner at you, and it does insane knockback. They patrol their designated areas, constantly using their rat scanner, and have better hearing and sight. The snipers have a lot less defense and physical strength, but their snipers can do insane damage, making them a huge issue if fighting them from a long-range area. They stay in position in range, hard-to-see locations. Breachers are extremely hostile and wear tons of armor on them. They use shotguns and at close range can kill you extremely fast. They patrol areas as well, but sometimes they'll sit stationary, waiting for you to run into them. There are captains, but they're the same as grunts, except they just have a magnum. On level 3 of the analysis office area, we can find an audio recording that talks about the Order.
Private note. It's undeniable that operations at Cascade are being monitored by external forces. This much the Cascade Executive Committee have been permitted to know. Exactly who has been infiltrating our communications, and to what ends, remains unknown. Or rather, those who know refuse to say. I've been directed to tell my team that we are conducting some security drills, but the threat seems quite real.
Listening to this, we would have no idea who would be monitoring our operations, but because we've encountered the Order, we can pretty much pinpoint that they were behind it. The Order is obviously against us. You can see dead scientists all over manufacturing, and they shoot at you when they see you. The reason for this is still unknown to us. When you opened Silo 3, there was a soldier there that speaks to you before he dies. I would play the clip, but I forgot to press record, and instead just got a recording of his dead corpse. Heading into the lab sector of the game, we get so much more information on the enemies from before, and as well as running into a new one. This is IS-91, the Leyak. It works a bit like SCP-173, except it disappears when you look at it. If you get close enough to it, the Leyak will swing at you super fast and will start to chase you. When you run into the Leyak, it won't leave you alone now. Once seen, it can follow you anywhere in the facility, even to your base. It stalks you until it reveals itself, and if you don't look at it in time, it can come up behind you and kill you. This enemy makes for some really good jump scare material.
Search pack is like really good. I
Whoa,
think.
Jesus, man!
What?
Holy fuck. In one of the rooms and labs, you can find an email that talks about the Leyak. The email reads about the essence it drops when you shine an X-ray light at it, but it also talks about the containment problems 9-1 has. We haven't found a way to contain it, but we have warnings to make sure you look at it until it disappears. The Leyak itself is actually a reference to Balinese folklore. The real mythology itself is about a figure in the form of a flying head, with entrails still attached to it. We can confirm this later in a recording when Dr. Manson says they found 9-1 at Indonesia. Gathering our information, we now know that the Leyak can't be contained yet. It was found at Indonesia and brought here to the facility. It's extremely sensitive to X-ray light even if it's attacking, but can also be stopped with direct line of sight beforehand. It has the ability to phase through walls but not when manifested, but can also open doors if it's chasing you. Lurking in the labs is another enemy. This is IS-139, the Crystalisk, most likely named that because they look as if they're made out of crystals. They try and keep their distance from you going invisible and running, and they can shoot energy bolts to attack you. They're resistant to melee and guns, but weak to acid and electricity. We can find a recording from Dr. Mance that talks about them.
Though we haven't yet captured a complete specimen of 139, Dr. Thule took a sample of its dust, but this raised more questions than answers. Foremost, 139 appears primarily to be a host rather than an individual. Pendleton theorizes 139 may be suffering an infection, which will require tests to ensure no cross-contamination can occur. And if true, we're unsure whether its behaviors are innate to the original being, or a byproduct. It's quite a tangled web, really.
Hearing this, we can learn that the Crystalisk seems to be a host of some kind of infection. The infection might be controlling or influencing the behavior of 139, and further study still needs to happen in order to confirm this. The next enemy we encounter in labs looks a bit familiar. These are containment robots. They're the same as facility robots, but they have a jailbroken CPU, making them faster and able to come out at any time, and not just nighttime. They can also grab you and throw you into a containment cell, and as a warning, do not try to drive away from them, because if you do, they will grab you, and it will soft lock you, forcing you to relog, and for some reason it also made me spawn all the way back at the cafeteria as if I just started the game. They have the same information as the facility robots, so I'll be glossing over them for now until the end of the video recap. The fourth enemy in labs can be seen when you enter the portal that leads to the furniture store. These are zombies. Pretty self-explanatory since they just act like most zombies in video games do. They're slow and can only swing at you, but eventually they can grab you if they get close enough and bite you. In the game I couldn't find any recordings of them, but on the wiki it tells us that the zombies are former gate employees mixed in with random people. They were exposed to a symbiote from Antiverse 16. There's an email at the top of this building that talks about a crossover between universes being possible before it was quickly called nonsense, but this could be completely true. Unless an employee was infected at Antiverse 16 before returning, there wouldn't be any other way for the symbiote to infect anyone here. It opens up a lot of questions on if the research conducted at the facility is causing things like this to happen. Thinking further about this might give us a reason on why the Order from manufacturing is attacking us. With the events that happened in Flat Hill and now the infection here, it would give them plenty of reasoning for them to see us as monsters. In its own containment cell, we can find the last enemy we'll encounter. This is IS-121, the Tarasque, an extremely huge enemy, and because of their size, they do a lot of damage and knockback. It's extremely sensitive to electricity, and doing enough damage, it'll fall down for a bit. The only way to damage it is to melee the mushrooms on its back. When it's down and doing this 3 times, it finally dies. Around its containment, you can find an email terminal that tells us a bit about it. The email says that the Tarasque appears to keep growing without any knowledge on how big it will get. It mentions that to make any progress on the research, they'll need to see some other specimens from Antiverse 42, which is Gatekeeper territory. We can find a recording from Dr. Mance that also talks about the Tarasque.
To anyone handling fluids of IS-121, the Tarasque, be extremely careful. The Exor has properties we've yet to fully assess, and can interfere, interrupt, or even instigate perforation events. I'm sure you're all aware of what happened to Dr. Stern last week. Luckily, we recovered him unharmed. Mostly. With thanks to the staff at Tori facility, we have the Tarasque hooked up in that insufferably hot shroom room. Please ensure you do not disturb the arrangement.
Given this, we can say that the Tarasque seems to originate from Antiverse 42. The Exor it drives can cause issues with perforation and is used to open the portal to the Myso fields. It's an extremely hot place with mushrooms all around it, and the Tarasque containment looks exactly like this place since it's what Dr. Mance describes. I also just want to mention how the Tarasque little mushroom parts look a tiny bit similar to the ones here. I'm probably just going crazy, but I wanted to bring that up. This place has some cool things, but no new enemies, so I won't be talking about it. With that done, that's all the enemies from Abiotic Factor. There's some things I didn't go over, like the Wisp or the freaky co-worker, but that's because they're not enemies and just weird things. I also didn't speak about the other versions of the enemies since I just wanted to talk about the base versions of them. Now that we're done, I'm going to be doing a quick summary on everything I've talked about in this video. The Carbuncle, Pest, Peccary, and Exor are all related to each other and come from Antiverse 2. Facility robots were made to protect the facility at nighttime, but seem to not have been programmed to tell staff apart from monsters. The Composer are currently local to Flat Hill with no way to trace their origin, and they seem to be a hive mind and exude a fog that has covered Flat Hill. The Order has 6 different soldiers, including the Grunt, Lab Rat, Breacher, Sniper, Captain, and Medic. They also come from Antiverse 2, according to the wiki. The Leyak was found in Indonesia and has no way to be contained. It's sensitive to X-ray light and is a reference to real-life Balinese folklore. The Crystalisk seems to be a host from an infection. Further research needs to be conducted to see if this infection is controlling its actions or influencing them. Containment robots are the same as facility robots, except they have a jailbroken CPU, making them faster and more dangerous. Zombies are former Gate employees and civilians that have been infected by a symbiote that comes from Antiverse 16 and might have been caused by a universal crossover. The Tarasque is an entity that seems to originate from Antiverse 42 and keeps growing without any information on when it stops. Its Exor can cause issues with perforation. This is my first time ever making a video that actually required editing, so there's a lot of things I want to work on for future videos and pretty much anything else. I know a lot of the issues I had was voiceovers and overall just better quality of editing, so I'm definitely going to work on that, try and get some more experience. Overall, Abiotic Factor is an amazing game and one of my favorites of all time. It's amazing to play alone and especially fun to play with friends, and so to end the video I'm going to show you some clips I have in my folder.
Oh shit, dude, that guy fucking.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
That we struggled at the edge of the light, knowing not whether to step towards darkness
You just killed
or
him.
stay.
What you doing there, buddy?
Bit.
I already tried.
Was that word?
Bye! What the fuck? And it's still not upright.
Holy fucking shit, bro. How many items did you have? You're dropping like a whole house?
I had a couple.
I think you're just dropping like 3 or 4 items. You got like 80 items here.
Yeah, we need to find some storage.
Said
I,
the
I
kitchen.
let myself
You didn't
out.
listen to
You
me.
let me back in?
You can go
Why
around.
do you lock yourself out?
Oh, is that you?
Dude,
Okay,
look, you
hold
can
up,
just go
hold
through
up.
here.
You,
I let myself out. Thank you. I let myself out again. You let me back in? Please?
I'm gonna go fight the robot.
Thank you. I let myself out again. Would you let me back in, please?
That's,
Oh my god.
that's your problem now, buddy.
What an asshole.
Here, let me go open that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Why can't people be more friendly like you? The fucking thing is. Oh my god, it's fucking burnt!
I don't know where I am. I'm lost.
Hold on, calm down. Hold on.
Okay,
Hold
now
on,
everybody's hitting me.
hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Why are you so
Oh.
fucking fast?
I'm tired.
Why are you so fast?
I'm tired of this. Get the fuck over here.